Before we get to that, we're going to start off with the fight Saturday from the UK, the heavyweights. What a fight. What a shocking ending to this fight. We had Justis Huni versus Fabio Wardley. Got to give credit. Both of these guys put it all on the line early in their careers. Huni was ranked number 1 coming in, WBO heavyweight, 12-0 coming into the fight. And he took on this challenge in Wardley's backyard. And what a fight it was. I mean, the first 9 rounds, Huni was in complete control. He was outboxing him. He was boxing his ears off. Way more skilled to me, faster hands, better technique, better feet, just better overall. But the heart, the resilience, the chin of Wardley kept him in the fight. And then in the 10th round, out of nowhere, he drops a bomb and he knocks out Huni. There's a lot that we're going to get into. Before we get into that, I just want to throw it over to you. Want to get your thoughts on that fight, and then I'll chime in and we'll go from there.
Well, I apologize to the people that I lost a few shillings because obviously we promoted it. I picked Huni. I wagered on Huni. He was getting 3-1, and he was a big dog. I saw what I had seen less than a year ago, I guess, maybe a year ago, maybe a little more than a year ago with
Agit KBL.
Yeah, and we took a wager on him. We didn't promote it, we didn't talk about it, but I told the fans on the podcast at the time he was a pretty big underdog. Nobody knew about KBL, how good he was. I watched him in a couple fights, and that's all I needed to see. I saw something special in a guy, that he could fight. And he had a fight coming up in Saudi. We were there, where he was a pretty good dog, pretty good underdog against another undefeated fighter. Similar to this, similar situation. And I picked KBL to win against
Frank Sanchez.
And the Sanchez, Cuban fighter, undefeated. A lot of people thought he was going to be in the mix to win a world title. But I actually thought the opposite. I thought that KBL would win. And I actually thought he would win by stoppage. We sat there ringside. We put a little wager on him, and he did. In this fight, when I was handicapping Huni and Wardley, I saw similarities. I saw Wardley listen, we all know the story. It's a great story. He didn't have an amateur background for the most part. A couple of white-collar fights. Pretty extraordinary what he's done. Good athlete, big, strong.
Didn't start boxing to 21 years of age.
So it reminds me a little bit of Michael Grant, who I trained for a little while, for a few fights. Good person, good athlete. Very few amateur fights, maybe 10, 11, whatever. And that you usually don't see those guys make it to the top. He beat Galata, who was a damn good fighter. He got off the floor, too, showed a lot of heart. He beat Galata, who, of course, fought Tyson. But Galata was this far away from winning a heavyweight title against Bo. I mean, he was good enough to beat Riddick Bowe, except that he went haywire and he started aiming everything low, and he sabotaged himself because we could talk a whole show about that. I could put my psychiatrist hat on, and I would put it on because I would need to put it on to explain that, and I would explain it. But we're not going to go there. But Michael Grant was the closest I can think of somebody that came from. We're talking about heavyweights now, with very little amateur background and got really close to the top. He came up.
Wilder started boxing very, very late.
Yeah, but he went to the Olympics. He won a bronze medal. He had a bunch of fights. He had a bunch of fights in a short period of time. You're right, but he had international fights. He had all that experience in the Olympics. He won a bronze medal. All of that. So yeah, except no. Not quite the same. We're talking about guys with very little amateur fights, and Grant came close to doing it. And now you got Wardley. And again, when I watched the tape to preview the fights, I watched Honey, and Huni, yeah, Huni, he would have been my honey if he won. Hey, I would have. But I'm not afraid to say. I'm man enough to say that. I don't care. I'm good with my masculinity. He No, he's a gentleman. He behaves like a gentleman. So does Wardley. The two of them, I give them all the credit in the world, first of all, for that. Huni, he had an amateur pedigree. His defense was good. His counterpunching abilities. He puts together short punches inside and outside. He sets traps. He knows how to fight. And I watched him, and I said, wait a minute. I watched him. I watched Ward. I see the same thing I saw with Capriel. I see a guy that is, from a boxing standpoint, is light years ahead of his opponent. I see an opportunity to get a nice win here at 3-1. So I put it out there. And the one thing when I put it out there, I did put in the message we posted, be responsible. It is gambling. But the one thing that I felt worried about was that Wardley could punch. Not only could he punch, and he showed this, his intestinal fortitude. He is special. I want to give him all the credit in the world. He is not as polished as Huni. He is not as polished as a Capriel. But he's still a work in progress. He's still learning on the job, and there's still more to be learned. But he's got things you can't learn. You can't be taught. You don't teach. And that's character. That is hard. That is resiliency. That is determination, grit. That is just pure championship type stuff that it really does take to be a champion. Yeah, you got to blend in the other things, no doubt about it. But he has power, he has size, he's got athleticism. But man, he just showed the character of a champion. Not only did he show a good chin, I know Huni's not a Mike Tyson type puncher. Who is? Very few people are. He's a good enough puncher. He's a big, solid guy, thick, solid. He's a good enough puncher. I know he's not a TNT puncher, but man, not only did he take clean shots to the head, the body shots that he took showed me how deep his heart runs. This guy has a heart. Wardley has a heart as big as the UK. And that's big. He's got that kind of heart. His heart, his resiliency, it won the fight for him. Yeah, I know it was the right hand that gets the credit. But he wouldn't be there to deliver that right hand without all the other things I'm giving him credit for. And I'm not even giving him credit for. I'm pointing out that need to be pointed out. This man is a monster tough guy. He is a real legitimate soldier. I take my hats, I salute you. And you're a gentleman. So is Honey. You're a gentleman too. I wish you nothing but luck. Yeah, I made a mistake. And I tell you, I wasn't blind going in. I was worried. The one thing I was worried about, I really felt Huni would outbox him. But in my sport, one mistake is all it takes. It ain't baseball. You don't get 3 strikes. I wish you did. You get 1. And that 1 was enough. And that was the one I was worried about. That Wardley, but I wasn't worried about just his power. Now let me say this clearly to the fans out there, because this is where I separate myself, I believe, when I handicap a fight. I wasn't worried that he was wrong. All heavyweights can punch to a certain degree. And if they hit you right, they hurt you. I was more concerned with his delivery system. I was more concerned. I noticed one thing that scared the crap out of me, and I still went and put the wager in and put it out there. I was worried that, first of all, he throws a good counter right hand. He times you when you come in. When guys come in, he did it against Clark. When guys come in, he looks to catch you with right hand. He's opportunistic. He's got instincts. He knows when a guy's coming in, he's got a chance to maybe catch them a little reckless, a little over-aggressive, a little careless. He knows that. He understands the human nature of that. That's something. And he looks for his moment. But there's one other thing. It's the same punch I taught Povetkin. When Povetkin won the heavyweight title, when I trained him for 2 years, I worked on one specific punch as his get out punch. I always told him, we have to get out. We got to get out. We got to get out. You got to have you have to have an escape. You have to have an out. In that movie, Heat, with De Niro and Pacino, I love that movie. He says, I have an out. Well, yeah, can you count the out now, though? Because you already got burnt. Get me a new out. I can't count it now. I can't count on it now. I know my man Ben's going to get this film up. Get me a new out.
Guy told me one time, don't let yourself get attached to anything you are not willing to walk out on in 30 seconds flat if you feel the heat around the corner.
His one out that Wardley has, I had taught Povetkin the same thing. You slip, you're orthodox, you're righty. You slip to your left. As you slip to your left, bang. You dropped a little bit of a half moon right hand. Not a complete loop, but a little loop in it. Just a little bit. But as you slip to your left, bop. You slip to your left, bop. Simultaneously as you slip into your left, you throw the right hand. And what it does is, it's the delivery of it. It sets a clean punch up. Because you take your opponent's eyes, you distract him. You divert his eyes to the wrong place while you're throwing the right hand to the other place. And I saw that on film. And I said, oh, shoot. Do I still want to take freaking Huni off of Wardley when I know he's got this and he could maybe catch this guy at any time with this? All right, I'll take a shot. You got to take a shot, bud. And I took a shot. And I got caught with the shot. I felt it too. I felt it right to my toes when it happened. And I was worried. And I'll say this. The corner, his people made 2 mistakes. They made the right judgment with their trainer Hearn and their manager Hearn and they made the right judgment to pick this fight, to have a chance to upset the apple cart, to put themselves right there, even though they were already up high in their ratings. But they weren't wrong with that they could win this fight. They were wrong in 2 things. One, they should have got a better ref. Don't get a UK ref. I'm taking no credit away from Wardley. You won that fight. God bless you. You're a monster. You stand bright and tall. You are something. And I wish you, like I said, I hope you win the heavyweight title. I hope you keep getting better. Because you got the one thing that you really, nobody can give you unless you have it. And that's the character I talked about already. But that referee from the beginning, long count, short count, forget it. I think he counted fast, yes. Yeah, who knows if he could have continued anyway. There was a minute left in the round. Who knows? But I do think he speeded up the count. But I'm not saying, I'm not taking away from Wardley. I'm not even saying that because it wouldn't matter. I'm not even talking about the speed of the game. I'm talking about the referee from the beginning looked like he was against Huni. That's all I'm saying. It just looked and felt from the beginning like the referee wanted his British brother, if you will. He wanted the fighter, the hometown fighter, the home country fighter that was promoted there to win that fight. He wanted him to win. It just seemed like he was on his side. And I don't want to see that for anybody. I don't want to see that in judging. Judges did a good job. I don't want to see that in refs. Don't have a local ref. You're having a UK guy against a guy from Australia. Do not have a UK ref. If you're the manager of Huni, put your feet down. No. I want a referee who's from neither country. A neutral ref. And I just thought that it was wrong to have that ref in that spot. But at the end of the day, if you look at it, it looked like he counted a little fast. He got up. Could he have continued? Listen, I don't know. But did he deserve the chance if he did beat the count? I know we don't want nobody getting hurt. And there's a risk he could get hurt. I know that. You don't want anyone getting hurt. But you also want him to get every opportunity, because we have seen guys come back from the darkest places. We have seen guys badly hurt where you wouldn't give 2 cents for them. You say it's over, and they've come back, and we have seen that. That has been some of our historic great fights that we sometimes talk about, to see the way a guy came back. I'm not saying that would have happened. I'm just saying that if he beat the count, he deserves the chance for that to happen. That's all. But at the end of the day, he boxed beautifully, Honey. His jab couldn't miss. His defense was good. Inside fighting, outside fighting. And then the other mistake, I said the people, his people made 2 mistakes. One was letting that ref be the ref. The other was the advice in the last round. Telling him, you're ahead, you can't lose except that way. The only way you can lose is the way you lost, by getting caught a big bomb. You have to know your opponent. You have to know he's still capable of doing that. He was capable when you made the fight. He was capable in the first round where he hurt you at the end of the first round. He was capable in the 10th round of landing that one big punch. That's what this guy does. And you should have watched film the way I did and recognize that what he does is when you get over aggressive, he looks to launch a right hand at you. Wardley does that. He's got a PhD in that. He's great at that. And he has that trick where he slips to his left as he delivers the right hand, which is brilliant. I give him and his people credit for developing that. But as the corner, in that going out for that 10th round where you forgot the gum shield, you forgot the mouthpiece, that was a bad omen. That was a bad omen right there. The referee had to bring him back, give him his mouthpiece. He forgot. You forgot something else. You forgot to tell him, don't be overly aggressive. And you told him the opposite. You stoked him up to go after the guy. At that point, there's no more going after the guy. There's jabbing, very, very cautiously, very quickly, at the right distance, feint, keep him off balance. If he's trying to hit you with a right hand, move away from it. Move to your right side, away from the right hand. Take that away. Feint him. Keep the right hand, off balance. Draw it by a feint. Don't throw anything that could put you into harm's way with the right hand. But the one thing you're not going to do is come in reaching with a right hand. And that's what he did. He threw a jab, and then he came in looking for a big right hand. And what happened? He left a hole. He left a space. He made a mistake. The perfect mistake that Wardley was waiting for, to catch him with a right hand, which, again, he does so well. He does it regularly. He showed you, if you watch the film before the fight, in preparation for this fight, in preparation for your fighter for this fight, you should have saw that. You do not send him out there in the 10th round when you're way ahead and where we got a wager, where we're ready to cash in. You don't send him out there looking to knock the guy out. No, you just finish up the right way and get the win. You use your jab. You double it up. You throw it. You move your head. You control that range. But you don't reach into his range. You don't catapult yourself towards him. And that's what they did. And look, Huni is young. Huni is young. He will come back. He will have a chance to correct things, to learn from this. Hopefully. But Wardley goes on. And this is a guy, it's hard not to root for a guy like Wardley with his story. And he's easy to root for. The way he conducts himself, the way he behaves during the course of a fight, after a fight, before a fight, with class, with nothing but things that you would root for. I mean, this. I tell you again, I just want to give all the credit in the world to Wardley for he taught everybody, never give up on yourself. Always have faith in yourself, no matter what, no matter how difficult it is. And that's when it counts the most, is when it's difficult to have faith in yourself, to still believe in the things that you said that you believe in. And he did.
It did feel a little more Foreman-esque with the shocking, stunning turn of events in the 10th round when the bomb was landed. And with that being said, you warned Moore exactly what Foreman was trying to do to him. The corner is so important. The trainer is very important. You told him he was trying to get set up. Sometimes things happen. Fighters don't listen. They're in there, the heat of the moment. But as you said, it was the worst advice ever. As soon as he said that, I said, my gosh, why did he say that? And what he told him, the advice was, go after him. Go get him out of there. You're a superstar. And you could see that overconfidence and over-aggressiveness is what costed him in the end. I laughed when the commentator said, great job by the trainer. Great advice to send him out there. When all he had to do is exactly what you said. Be tight defensively. Don't give him the chance to land the bomb, which he did with the magic eraser and wiped all of the mistakes from the past. The final thing I just wanted to add to that, Bud, the count did seem a little fast. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But the optics looked bad. When you're in the guy's backyard and you're on the ground, we didn't get to see the count. We didn't get to see Huni trying to get up. They panned over to the promoters and Frank Warren instead of showing us that. So when you're in the guy's backyard and you add it all up, it just didn't look good and makes you think, was it a fast count? And I agree with you. You got to allow a guy who gets up from that to be able to see if he could continue. Maybe the legs weren't there, but he never even gave him the chance to walk forward. Are you okay? He waved it off. And the final thing I'll say there as I'm going on, congrats to Frank Warren as well. Maybe besides a promoter, maybe he could have been a great trainer. He walked over to the corner at the end of the 9th round, and whatever advice he gave him, it worked. So,
well said.
Yeah, I've said enough. Great job. Great performance by Wardley.
I hate to knock any trainer. I don't want to really go overly. I to hear what you're saying. I've made mistakes. I've been wrong in the corner too. I've made mistakes. So I don't want to take away from the good job also. I have to say what has to be said. That's my job. I'm not here to make friends. I'm not here to get jobs. I'm not here, I'm here to say what my judgment tells me to say. From my years of experience, right or wrong. It's my judgment. I'm not here because of biases or to try to, again, to be on one side or the other. I'm here to just say straightforward what I think the fans need to hear. And I think that they did need to hear that the advice wasn't really the right advice at that moment. But at the same time, I will say this. I don't want to take away from the job they did to get him ready to be that far ahead. Let's give him credit for that. I want to give him credit that they did a good job to have him winning going into the 10th as a 3-1 underdog. They did a good job with that, with avoiding the big shots all night long until finally, of course, they made that one big mistake. So yeah, I thought they were wrong in what they said. Like I said, I've made mistakes too, but they also did a good job getting him to a place where he was winning the fight going into the 10th round. I'll say one other thing. You watched the fight with me. My heart was in my throat the whole time. And I don't mean that in a bad way where I'm rooting against Wardley. I was just rooting for my pick as far as, the wager for that pick. That's all. But if I had to lose to somebody, I couldn't lose to a guy that I felt better about losing to. I just want to say that. I really do, because of what he showed. because he showed he's a winner. He's a winner as a human being in the most important ways. The way, and I know he must live a good life and be good to people, because to be able to pull off what he pulled off, when the moment came to feel the way he had to feel like a Viking, a samurai, a warrior. He had to feel that he was that. You can't feel you're that if you don't live like that. If you live a life of lies, of treating people bad, of being a piece of crap, if you live like that outside the ring, even if you're young, even if if you're physically fit, you can get away with it physically, but mentally, emotionally, if you live a life of that, and then that moment comes that you have to feel like he had to feel in that 10th round, like, no, I am the real deal. I am a champion. I am a Viking. I am all those things. You have to know that you've lived the right way to actually feel that way when that moment comes. That tells me all I need to know about Wardley. That he couldn't have felt that way. He couldn't have been in the position to act that way, to behave that way. Because if you lived like a liar outside the freaking ring, you would feel like a liar at that moment. You wouldn't feel like he knew he felt like a guy that could deliver that punch and stand up. So I just want to say that. And if we were, that's why we got to do more live streaming. Because I will say that I think most people trust me. Because when I'm wrong, I say I'm wrong. But if we were doing live streaming, I will promise you that I would have said around the 9th round, maybe the 8th, but definitely the 9th, I would have said, hey, he's a 50-1. He went from a 3-1 underdog to a 50-1 favorite. I would have said, put something on Wardley. Put a saver bet on Wardley right now. Because you're getting that kind of freaking comeback to bet the guy who's the favorite going in. Put something on him right now. Because the one thing I was worried about the whole fight was that one punch could wreck the whole thing.
Yeah, the live stream you would have, but and the one thing to wrap it up finally here is I said early in the fight, very early rounds, I was worried about the scorecards being on the home turf for Wardley, and you said, I'm not. You were worried about that power and the exchange. And unfortunately, you were right. We're going to do more of these. You identified a gem. You identified an underdog. And I think the fans could appreciate and see that, and as well as the live streams. So there'll be more. Be on the lookout. We'll let you guys know. And again, well said. Congratulations to Wardley and to Huni as well. The way he handled it after the fight, that kid will be back.
Yeah, they both behaved like gentlemen and like champions. I couldn't say enough good things about either one of them. And I'll leave it with this. We'll do live streaming. We won't be afraid to give our thoughts and wagers in there and spots. Again, we won't be afraid of that. But I will never bet against Wardley again. Even though when he goes all the way up to the, I guess he'll get a title fight, or that's what they're looking for. And look, Frank Warren has done an unbelievable job. All his people have with him. But it'll be tough, but you just can't count out. You just can't count out a guy that's got, forget the power. And I'm not even talking about the power. It's just the character that he shows.